Hi, I'm Tom Gorczynski. I'm here with some important information regarding the California pass-through entity elective tax. You may need to take certain actions before June 15th for your clients related to this new tax system in California. And just as a quick overview, certain pass-through entities can elect to be subject to an entity level income tax. Then the owners of those entities may receive a credit for their share of the entity level tax, and this credit will reduce their personal tax liabilities to the state of California. This is an effort to minimize the effect of the $10,000 SALT cap for individuals at the federal level. Starting in tax year 2022, there is a required estimated tax payment due by June 15th that has to be made for the entity level tax. The required estimated tax payment is the greater of $1,000 or 50% of the elective tax liability for the prior tax year. The biggest problem with this estimated payment is that if you fail to make it, the entity is unable to make the pass-through entity tax election for that year. So let's look at 2022. Normally, an entity would choose to elect into that tax when it files its 2022 tax return in 2023. But in order to do the election for 22, the entity has to make the required estimated tax payment by June 15th, 2022, which is coming up very quickly. So if you have any pass-through entity that's considering electing into the tax, the pass-through entity level tax for 22, they have to make this required estimated payment by June 15th. Again, failure to make it or make it in the correct or appropriate amount will prevent them from making the election when they file their 2022 tax return. Now, if your client, the pass-through entity, has already filed the 21 return, great, this makes it easier. If they made the election in 21, then they need to make an estimated tax payment by June 15th of the greater of $1,000 or 50% of the actual entity tax that was on that particular year. It doesn't matter if the income changed. It doesn't matter if 21's income was much higher. You have to do 50% of the actual entity tax that was incurred by the pass-through entity. If it did not make the 21 election, well, then the liability was zero in the prior year. So therefore, the estimated tax payment has to be $1,000, and it has to be on or before June 15th of this year. Where it gets problematic is that the entity did not file the 21 return. And this is because the 21 tax liability is not fixed. Now, when they went on the extension, they likely full paid the liability they thought they would have, but that's not necessarily the final and fixed liability. So if the entity did not file its 21 return, and it's planning to make the election in 21, then you're going to have to pay in the greater of $1,000 or 50% of the estimated final entity tax liability for 21 on or before June 15th of this year. So I think it's important here to estimate high. Don't assume the amount you paid in with the extension is necessarily going to be the tax liability. You need to actually have a really good final number and then add some tax for cushion. If you are $1 short of 50%, you will be unable to make the 22 election. This is very important. If the entity has not filed 21 and they're not planning to make the election in 21, then they simply can make an estimated tax payment of $1,000 on or before June 15th to preserve their right for 22. But right now, if the 21 return is not done, Some decisions have to be made as to what is going to be done so that you know how to proceed with payments for 22. So take the next week or two and talk with clients and make those decisions. And this is a very basic overview of what you need to know now and what actions you need to take now. I hope you'll be attending the 2022 Super Seminar. We're going to be having several sessions that cover the California pass-through entity elective tax. Karen Brossi's California update will cover it. I'm doing a course on that topic alone, and I hope you'll join us there to learn about this amazing and important tax planning opportunity. Have a great day, everyone.